Hello viewers and welcome to episode 38 of Full Spinnaker Ahead, and it's called the Clarence Bar. I just wanted to have a bit of a talk about the sandbar out of the front of the Clarence River. There's a horse-shaped sandbar on my plotter. It's probably changes and maybe changes it with every weather event, but I have noticed that on the rough weather we had a couple of days ago or 3 days ago or something, there seems to be a change in its shape. There seems to be more out to the north, which is a big lesson to learn, that never treat a sandbar to be the same. And I did when I come into the Clarence. I actually took the northern shipping entrance. It was a very calm night, which is probably maybe one excuse, but if I did that again, instead of coming in that night, I would have preferred to go out 2 or 3 miles, pull the boat up, drift, and a nice calm night it was, and then just have a sleep out at sea and wait for the daylight, because you can see a lot more in the daylight to see if there's any shallow water. So yeah, just a warning. I've done that a few times, and at night everything's different, and if something goes wrong, everything's twice as hard to fix. So just something to think about. I know I have, and I'll try never to make that mistake again. I guess the important point is that if it's not your local bar that you're observing all the time, you shouldn't treat it as if you know it. Out the beautiful sea passage to the open ocean, just passing Yamba, being on the southern side of the Clarence River, and Maluka being on the northern side. Just been greeted by a few whales, which you saw numerous amounts of whales on the way, and it turns out that Stuart Warren couldn't make it to get onto the boat at the right time, but he ended up doing he's a very adventurous man, Stuart Warren. He ended up doing a walking trip on his, biking through the ranges, back down to Tannerfield from where I was doing my job, a bit further up in the hills. He pulled the point there and just got into the bush, and not really too many tracks or anything, and just with his push bike blasted through the bush. He's very adventurous, and anyway, we'll catch up another time. It's just with getting crew, it's really difficult to time it properly and to work out when both parties have got can make the connection, and then there's always the dilemma about who. I always pay for food at least and cover all that, but they didn't really have the money to be paying for flights and things like that, which is quite often, I think, what people hope for. Put a fishing line out. The northerlies just kicked in a little bit, so I put the sail up. Doing about 4 knots, 4.5, and but I sort of reckon, even if you haven't got any experience, you're valuable for me, because as long as you can tell me when you're doing a watch that you're not sure of something, and at least then I can get a few hours of sleep, which makes the whole journey just so much more better. And then any added value you get out of the personal contact and everything is just an absolute bonus. It's never nice having conflict on a boat, and that's definitely not what you want. But just building up a pool of good people is what I'm going to try and do, and let people know when I'm doing something, making a move on the sail or something like that, and then if they can make it, they can make it, and if they can't, they can't. this passage, we ended up motoring till about 11:30, and then the wind started just kicking in, and you can probably tell by the shape of the sails and stuff that it's just kept getting a little bit better and better as we progressed, and ended up getting down to Coffs Harbour around about 6 p.m, which is an open harbour, and had a rest there. It's anchored up and got going again about 2 a.m. in the morning. We didn't really do any good, but we used the old classic silver spoon, which has been around for ever and a day, and I have had some success on it, but not in this trip. It's been a fairly motorising sort of experience, this passage. We've got the motor going to augment the speed to get down to Coffs Harbour at a good time so we can have a bit of a snooze, and the amazing underwater through the little side window, you can still see the water pumping out of the exhaust over there, but it's that blue colour that's unreal. I just love it. As soon as you get out in the sea, you get this beautiful blue colour. The wind has just started to pick up. Looks like it's coming from the northeast. It'll be handy for the last 3 hours of this trip. Entering Coffs Harbour with 2 blue lights, anchored in the harbour. The holding's not renowned, but it's always been okay for me. And we got up around about 2 a.m, like a 3 a.m. departure for Port Macquarie to get an early start at it, and that's a harbour that I don't mind transiting or navigating in at night. Unfortunately, when we got out, there was no wind, and we had to motor sail basically from the time we got out till 7:30 in the morning, and we ended up getting a bit of wind. As the day progressed, we switched to the port engine and just had the head sail out, and we're getting along all right. And with a bit of aid of the east coast current, we did some good speeds and got down to Port Macquarie quite quickly and easily. One of the characteristics of Port Macquarie foreshore is the Norfolk pines. You can see them from a distance. Oh, I think they're Norfolk pines or something of that order, but they're all dotted along the foreshore. You can see them on the horizon there. Coming into Port Macquarie, there's a buoy in the entrance to say that the northern breakwall was collapsed in a place there and dropped some rocks in the water, so don't go too close to it. It's advertised generally on the notice to seamen, and also often the rescues will broadcast it, or a security alert will be put out maybe, or something like that. But it never hurts to actually ask yourself when you're coming in and you talk to the rescue, so is there anything I need to know about the bar? Can just help you at night. You know, you don't want to run into something like that in the middle of the night. That would cause a bit of confusion. just winding up the anchor. We're at 90 degrees to the anchor chain. It's like in that position that it is now. If we just wound it up, it would come off the bow roller. So I just engaged the left engine to turn the boat around in line with the chain, and now I can wind it in. Just preparing to leave. Did all the hatches up, and we're on our way out of Port Macquarie. We're out of Port Macquarie, just on after the low tide on the incoming, and then we're going to get to Camden Haven 2 hours or so before the high tide, so it's still incoming, so it works out pretty good. It's about a 3-hour trip or so. We had a good northerly and no real dramas. The secret weapon for sun, mosquitoes, etc. are long footy socks. They come, if you fold them right up, they just about cover your whole leg, and easy to push up, easy to pull down. I just find them really versatile, so I wear them. They look a bit strange, but anyway, that's a part and parcel. The actual autopilot must be in the work mode or the rate mode, because it's making so many corrections. When you look at it like that, you can see why the calm mode, where it just, you probably hunt a little bit more and get a little bit more off course, but it definitely doesn't take up as much energy. Anyway, just a minor thing. So we're approaching Camden Haven, and I'm just prepping the anchor, untying it, and make sure that the controls are free, and I've got the little sticky out there that unhooks or takes the pressure off that clutch. Basically prepping the anchor, so that if I do go through the bar, the entrance bar, and something does go wrong, I can have the anchor at my disposal quickly as possible. I think it's a good idea. What do you think? Leave us a comment if you've got some ideas.
To Camden, this is Marine Rescue Camden Haven. Could you move slightly over to your right, please? You're a little bit closer to the south side. Just come out a little bit closer to the middle. Over.
In case you didn't hear what Marine Rescue Camden Haven said, they said that I was a little bit too far to the left. I needed to come to the right a little bit, because I'd actually asked them how did I look, was I lined up? So that's always handy. Rescue don't really do that very often. Well, actually, I'm not sure whether they do or don't do that very often, but I don't ask very often, and I've always had the feeling that they're reluctant to give advice. That's for sure. Anyway, coming down the canal into what I think is called Laureaton, further back at the base of that hill, we come to a midstream rock that's got a buoy on it, and obviously well marked, but nevertheless it's good to know that it's there. You can see those marker buoys up there. You've got to go to the right of those. Didn't get to see a whole lot of this waterway, just a little bit in the township of Laureaton. Obviously I didn't have a car, but I sort of did a few walks and things like that, but other than what I'm sharing with you now, I didn't really get to see anything in depth, but I found it a really nice little waterway with a bit of old school values about it, which is always nice. When I come in the first time, I didn't bother with the courtesy mooring, as the tide was just running too hard, and I couldn't, and the wind as well. So I just anchored and then grabbed the courtesy mooring later on. Had a bit of a fish, went into town. They've got a nice little old school cinema here. Just a little bit of a sign of some developments going on, as you would expect, but yeah, it's quite a nice little place. Of the two boats you see there in the middle of the river, Toucan 2 is on the right on a courtesy mooring. The footage is not that great, but it's all that I had, and it gives you a bit of an idea how the town nestles on the bottom of that hill and what the river sort of looks like. And that's about it for this episode. The next episode will be mostly centered around Sydney Harbour and the southerly progression down Eden and onwards. So thanks very much for watching. Full spinning ahead to your dreams, because you definitely do never know what's around the corner, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.